BJ Mafia, what's poppin'? Jags fans, we are just 24 hours away from the start of the 2024 NFL Draft, and I gotta say, I am ready to run through a brick wall. I am so excited for this year's draft. I know that each and every single one of you guys are as well. But before I go ahead and dive deep into all of my final draft predictions and thoughts going into the first round for the Jaguars, because I'm not talking the entire draft in this video, I will not be making any Jaguars draft content tomorrow night after we select or whatever big news that we make, because for you guys that know, I'm going to be working game 3 of the Orlando Magic and Cleveland Cavaliers playoff series. I know you guys see that I'm a journalist that covers the Magic as well. And secondly, I've been making some great Jaguars content these last couple of weeks, bringing some other great Jaguars content creators onto the channel with some podcasts, guys like Jordan DeLugo from GenJag.com, UCF Jaguar, Tony Wiggins from Locked On Jaguars, as well as former Jaguars middle linebacker Tom McManus, who now does great work with 1010XL. If you guys want to go ahead and check out those videos, I will go ahead and link to one of them up above so that you guys can go ahead and check it out. But let me go ahead and dive deep into my final draft thoughts and predictions with all of this. Now, I have been on the record stating, and I stand on it, that I either want Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver from LSU, or Terrion Arnold at 17 overall, regardless of the Jaguars stay pat at 17 or if they want to trade back. Now, here's my issue with that. Do I think Terrion Arnold will be there at 17 overall? No, I do not. Will Trent Baalke take a wide receiver in a deep wide receiver class at 17 overall or in the first round? I do not think so. Regardless if Trent Baalke wants to take Brian Thomas Jr. there at 17, I don't think that he will, even if he's available there on the board. So that is my gripe with this, because as these weeks have progressed, as we've gotten closer to the draft, I have had a sudden change of heart through talking through multiple people and just consistently doing more research. I want to stick in the trenches. Where I'm at with this draft, yes, you could go best player available, and I have no problems with that because there is so much talent in this year's class, but I really want to get a guy in the first round, either on the offensive or defensive line, regardless of the fact that the Jaguars have their starting 5 on the offensive line: Cam Robinson, Ezra Cleveland, Mitch Morse, Brandon Sheriff, and Anton Harrison. I don't see a problem bolstering that offensive line, getting a guy that could come in and potentially be a starter and replace Cam Robinson if you take a tackle, and then you would cut Cam Robinson and save that $16 million, and then you could have a great developmental piece if you want to take someone on the interior. And let's just not forget how bad that interior of the offensive line was last year. We've got a bunch of Band-Aids there, and if one of those guys goes down, knock on wood, Ezra, Mitch, or Brandon, your interior of your offensive line is going to look a lot more poor. And I know a lot of Jags fans don't want to take an offensive lineman. I know I'm on the lower end of the spectrum with that, but that's just my 2 cents with it. Now, defensively, I would love to continue to bolster the defensive line, stick in the trenches, maybe get another edge rusher or an interior defensive lineman to bolster to that front 7. And you can have edge rushers coming inside and out, and you are going to have a great front 7 that is going to look reminiscent of Saxonville 2.0. So, having said all of that, I'm going to make a prediction right now. I believe that the Jaguars are not only going to trade back in this year's draft, probably with either the Philadelphia Eagles or the Dallas Cowboys at 22 or 24 overall. The Jaguars are going to take one of these 3 players in the draft tomorrow evening. They're either going to take Jared Verse from Florida State, Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama, or Johnny Newton from Illinois. That is my prediction. One of those 3 players is going to be a Jaguar tomorrow. Now, I also wouldn't be upset if the Jaguars took any of these guys at 17 or they traded back. Realistic names that I'm going to name here: Jackson Powers Johnson, Amarius Mims, Cooper DeJean, A.D. Mitchell, Laiatu Latu, Nate Wiggins, Troy Fautanu, Graham Barton, and this last one's going to surprise you, Chop Robinson. Now, Chop Robinson's probably going to be a late first, early second round pick, but with his potential and his upside, he screams the Trent Baalke prototype, just like Amarius Mims does as an offensive tackle coming out of Georgia. Now, let me get back to the first 3 guys that I named off: Kool-Aid McKinstry, Jared Verse, and Johnny Newton. Here's why I say a guy like Kool-Aid McKinstry. First of all, we all know that the Jaguars have another need opposite side of Tyson Campbell. Ronald Darby at this point in his career is serviceable. An older, aging guy. If you can get a guy like Kool-Aid McKinstry opposite side of Tyson Campbell, When you extend Tyson Campbell, you have your 2 outside corners locked up for the future. You've got a guy who's got good length, great versatility, a very high IQ, plays with a high motor, great hip fluidity, and he's great in press man coverage, something that the Jaguars are going to be doing a lot of in 2024, thanks to Ryan Nielsen and the new defensive scheme that we're going to be running. Now, the second guy, Jared Verse. The Jaguars have been long searching for another edge rusher opposite side of Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker. Now that you brought in Eric Armstead, you brought in Travis Gibson from the Tennessee Titans, you've got Devon Hamilton coming back and Roy Robertson Harrison, you're still going to need one more premium edge rusher that is going to take this front seven and take this pass rush to a whole nother level, because Dallas Turner won't be there. Jared Verse could absolutely be a name that could take this Jaguars front seven and this pass rush to an absolutely another level. A guy who I think is already very well polished in terms of a 3 technique, coming off of the edge, setting the edge very well, especially in run defense. He stays in his lane, doesn't get out of his gaps, and does a very good job of consistently going 110%. There's times where his motor does look a little bit lackluster, but when you talk about his size, his frame, and his speed and athleticism, his break off of the ball, Jared Verse is a very well polished edge coming out of Florida State, and I promise you, Trayvon Walker going into year 3, Josh Allen going into year whatever he's going into, this front seven is going to be nasty, especially if you add in Jared Verse. And the last guy, Johnny Newton. There is absolutely no way I see the Jaguars passing up on a Johnny Newton if he's staring them right in the face at 17, at 22, or at 24 overall. Getting an interior defensive lineman, the best interior defensive lineman in this class, who's got size, physicality, and explosiveness off of the line of scrimmage, great use of his handwork, and a guy that's going to dominate in the run stuffing game, in the A and B gap, a guy I think you can line in 3 and in 5 technique, a guy you can move over the A and the B gap if I haven't already said that. This is going to be a guy that's going to help bolster the interior of the defensive line. And could you imagine, down and distance, it's 3rd and 11, and Anthony Richardson or CJ Stroud has to drop back, and you've got Jared Verse or Johnny Newton, whoever you want to throw in there, alongside Eric Armstead, Trayvon Walker, and Josh Allen. Good luck. Good luck to any offensive line in the NFL trying to guard that and trying to pass protect in those kind of situations. If the Jaguars can get guys in the trenches, that's what I think is going to take this team over the top. That's just my opinion on it. I know I'm in the minority. I understand that is probably the unpopular opinion. And the last thing I want to say with all of this, because I did talk about the defensive line, I talked about Jared Verse or Johnny Newton coming to Jacksonville. Let me say for the record, if you guys haven't heard already, I'm going to say it yet again. If the Jaguars go offensive line, either offensive tackle or interior offensive line, I know 90% of the fan base is probably going to be really upset in the moment, and I understand. I understand we want to go get another edge rusher. I understand that we want that outside wide receiver or that outside corner. I understand completely. Trust me. But understand, I don't know why I keep saying that. Just listen to me. I want you guys to understand that taking an offensive lineman is the most important position right now for this Jaguars team, because we have to protect our franchise quarterback. If Trevor Lawrence can't get through his progressions, can't get through his reads, I don't care what we do with the receiver position. If it's Brandon Ayuk, or we get Brian Thomas Jr., or we trade up and get Malik Neighbors or Roma Dunze, if he can't get through his progressions, this offensive line and Trevor Lawrence is going to get banged up, and this offense is going to be anemic. Now, I doubt that the Jaguars go offensive line, but I just want to say for the record, let's not panic too much. You've got your starting 5 right now. Maybe the Jaguars decide that they want to cut Cam Robinson and save $16 million on the cap after this if they get their guy. But let's say that we take a Jackson Powers Johnson. You guys understand that Mitch Morse is an aging veteran, even though he's going to be very good for this team right now. What if Ezra Cleveland or Brandon Sheriff goes down? We have a plug-and-play guy who is going to be the future of this team. He's going to be our next Ryan Kelly. He's going to be our Jeff Saturday to our Peyton Manning. I would have no issues if the Jaguars went offensive line, and there's really nowhere that the Jaguars could go in the first round and take a bad player, unless they want to take Peyton Wilson and they want to take an off-ball linebacker somewhere. That would be the most bulky pick ever, but we all know that's not going to happen. And Jags fans, that's really all I wanted to say for this video. Do not be upset if we take an offensive lineman. I think that Kool-Aid McKinstry, Jared Verse, or Johnny Newton will be a Jaguar in about 24 hours, and I am excited for this year's draft. That's really all I'm trying to say with this video. Jags fans, please let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Who do you think that the Jaguars will draft? Not who do you want? Who do you think that we draft? And also give me a name of a current player or a former player that you guys want to see me bring onto the channel outside of just Jamal Agnew. That will be in the works sooner rather than later. And Jags fans, before I let you guys get out of here, man, if you guys appreciate the work and the content that I make here on YouTube, make sure you guys go ahead and drop me a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe bell to stay tuned for more Jaguars content that I do here on YouTube. And make sure that you guys also go ahead and follow me on my socials, especially on Twitter. I'm active and I'm on there every single day. The link tree will be in the description down below so that you guys can go ahead and check that out. But Jags fans, thanks again for sticking around throughout the whole video. Brett James, aka BJ, I'm out, y'all. And like always, let's go Jags.